fitness-wise of the squad. What's it looking like? Is Sammy back? Do you have any fitness concerns?
Well, I can say Sammy won't be involved anymore. He unfortunately he just hasn't responded to that calf injury. He sort of, I think I mentioned last week, he took a couple of steps forward, only to take another step back, and really hasn't recovered. He still has. We re-imaged beginning of the week, and he still has a slight strain there, and it's just not going to be. He's not going to have enough time to get himself up, so we sort of had to unfortunately shut him down for the season.
And also, I'm remiss of not asking about it as of late because he was never actually officially ruled out for the season. But Jimmy Jeggo, is he the one that's not a chance to come back?
No, he's he's had a lot of issues with his Achilles, and he's in a much better space now. He's been cleared some weeks back to progress his training, and that's what he's doing. He's joined in part of training sessions over the last week. He'll join in today as well, although today's a very light session, and just continue to increase his fitness levels. But he's also one that's just not going to be available in these last couple of weeks.
But aside from that, you got a full squad to choose from?
Yeah, Nate comes back, so he's recovered well and trained well this week. And the other one, unfortunately, Lawrence Wong fractured his wrist in the NPL game last weekend. So he's had to put a splint or a cast on his arm, and then it's a question about one, is he going to be comfortable with it, and mentally ready for the contact and the potential falls, and also we need clarification from the league and the referees that whatever he wears is going to be okay for a game.
Is this an opportunity to bust out the old Franz Beckenbauer tape and teach him how to play in a sling?
Yeah, well, they made him tough at those days, didn't they?
Obviously, coming into this game, Viddy, you're up 3-0 after the first leg. I know the cliche is you treat it if it's 0-0 and you got to win the game, but with such a heavy lead coming into this game, how do you approach it?
No, we have to approach it the same way as we did last week and the way we've done all season. We're going out again to be aggressive and to play the game on its own merits. With the mentality of it's been 0-0 and starting off well and being ready for it mentally, because the result from last week, as great as it was, you just never know, and Western they're going to throw everything at us, and you'd expect them to do that anyway. So we have to be ready mentally, physically. We're in a really good spot at the moment. And knowing that it's going to be a tough 100 minutes for sure.
Is there a point in the game, say it's 0-0, the 60th minute, where maybe you look at guys like Nates and Lecky and you start to think about managing them for the week after?
Well, I don't like to play hypotheticals, so
I love them.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, we'll start off with our team and go hard for as long as we possibly can, and then we'll, like last week, we got to a point after I think it was 50 or 55 minutes that we decided we needed to freshen it up, and that's what we did. So we made subs on what was actually happening in the game, and we'll do that again on tomorrow night. So no real thought about the ifs, what ifs, because there's so many things that could happen.
But as you mentioned, you want to start strongly, but we know Western do or die for them. There is no tomorrow. They need to score 4 goals to win it, 3 goals to send it to extra time. They'll throw absolutely everything at you. Do your boys have to be prepared to maybe batten down the hatches in the opening exchanges and weather that storm?
Yeah, it's going to be an aggressive opening. It has to be. I'm expecting our guys to be even more aggressive. And sometimes a lot of games, the first 10 or 15 minutes generally dictates how the game is going to go. I know there's ebbs and flows in all games, but generally, a strong, bright start generally puts you in a better position. So that's what the chat this week has been about, again this morning, and being up for it, because it's going to be a fight. It always is. And there's still a lot to play for, absolutely.
Is this also a case of, because you've had to make so many changes to your squad throughout the season, players have had to come in, players have come out, it's also a case of players are almost playing to earn a start in the grand final, so to speak, because you haven't really had a settled 11 all season, you're willing to make changes?
Yeah, in a way, but, I think sometimes, as bad as it was at the time with all the injuries, we managed to blood a lot of new players this season, and it just gives you more confidence knowing that if you have to make a change at any point, that they're absolutely able to give their all and give everything for the team. So I think it makes, I suppose, competition for places healthier, and most of the times if you have that in your team, it keeps everyone on their toes, and generally no one really knows what's happening, and as I said, by keeping people on their toes, you get a lot more out of them, and you get a little bit more of that what I call a healthy tension within themselves.
On Saturday, the other semi-final kicks off 2 hours before your game. If in the event that you go through, you'll already know who you're playing, how do you approach something like that? Will you keep an eye on the game? Will you be getting updates, or will you look to find out who you'll be playing in a grand final after you've beaten Western United on Saturday, if you do?
Well, I think it's just normal. It doesn't matter if it's this weekend or round 15. We're always looking at, when you're at the stadium, you're always looking at who's playing before you, and you're always looking at results anyway. So I think that's only just natural. But our focus can't be on what's going to happen next week. Our focus has absolutely got to be on what's happening tomorrow night, and doing our job, and doing our job very, very well. And then we'll worry about what's going to happen after.
Future focused as us Force of State types can be, but have you had to reinforce that message to the players, or have you found that the group hasn't needed that sort of encouragement?
To be honest, the group has been absolutely brilliant this year. I'm talking guys Aziz, Lex as the captain, the vice captain, Andy Naboo, Jimmy Jago, the experienced guys. They've kept a lid on most things. I've very rarely had to interfere with any of those things. If they see an issue happening, they nip it in the bud pretty quickly. And I think the culture amongst the group, the characters, more or less, because what we're dealing with is we're dealing with people, and they've all got different types of personalities. But when you've got strong leaders around the group, it makes it very easy. So they've done a great job in terms of knowing when to keep a lid on things, knowing when we could let our hair down a little bit. So they've got really good feeling about that, and they've had that through the course of the year. So that's extremely important for us.
With that strong veteran presence, they're providing leadership. But have any players sort of emerged as leaders this season? Maybe a player who you weren't expecting to take on such a leading role, but they've begun to show those qualities and grown into the role as the season progressed?
I can't say anyone jumps out, but we still think there's a couple of guys, especially because we've got a much younger team as well. When the younger guys are mixed in with the seasoned pros, sometimes it's difficult for them to actually really show themselves, because they feel like they don't want to step over the mark of one of the senior guys. But I always say, whatever happens when you're on the pitch, everyone is absolutely equal in a way, but you're also equal off the pitch as well. But there are some boundaries where you can cross once you're on the pitch, because I would expect a 17 or 18-year-old to get up someone if they're not actually doing their job, right? And I know if they can do that, that no other senior player, no one else is actually going to be upset with that, because they're doing it for the right reasons. And once it's done, and you come off the pitch, it's done, and then you come back to being a normal person on the other side of the white line. So, but really, there's probably a couple of guys that we think potentially that can take a bit more of a senior leadership role. But right now, we've got enough guys there to run that area, and the smarter ones will always be looking and listening and picking up things and being able to potentially one day take over those roles.